Hello, everybody. Good morning. This is Sunday morning, September 6, 2020. We are recording from the Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent, Plainfield, New Jersey, the United States of America. We are the Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent, and we give you all virtual hugs every week. Glad you're with us today. And we will start this morning with our morning prayer.
From Addenda of the Collectania, page 16. Today, he who hath made thee whole will keep thee day by day. He who hath spoken to thy soul hath many things to say. He who hath gently taught, yet more will make thee know. He who hath wonders wrought, still greater things will show. He loveth always, faileth never, then rest in him today, forever. Mary Baker Eddy.
Thank you. I love that so much. It's just, thank you. Before we get into the watching point, I want Jeremy to give us he had a good report for us this week for our meeting.
I didn't bring the numbers. I just sorry about that. Well, anyway, I have from Napoleon one of his responses.
And Napoleon is?
Oh, he does our translations for Hindi, Punjabi, and Urdu, and Marathi, Nepali, Persian, Pashto, Sindhi, and Tamil.
Very good.
So, and he's just so pleasant to work with, and he's also very competent, and I'm really, really grateful for that. But anyway, in an email he wrote, I am pleased to write to you and thank you for your honest love for us here in Pakistan. Once again, we are grateful to you and the entire church for making us work on these lectures and understand the Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent. I hope these ventures will continue to bring us more insight about the church and faith. Thank you for being a support and helping to study the amazing lessons to strengthen my Christian faith. Sincerely, Napoleon.
Thank you. So, and he and his family and some of his friends, I guess, have joined or certainly on board with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, and the numbers, we don't have the numbers, but those of you who are members and we'll have a membership meeting on September 17th, you'll hear these reports and hear some of the numbers. They've all gone up across the board, right?
They have, yeah.
So all you translators, we are so very, very grateful for you. And I've been hearing more than once in Iran that they're becoming more and more Christian. They are tired of this Islam stuff. They're waking up to realize it's a very false and wicked system and turning to Christ's Christianity. And you think of injustice or all this Middle East, the cradle of Christianity, where Christ Jesus himself walked. I mean, why wouldn't these people be coming into this truth? And we want to be there with Christian Science, and we are. And thank goodness, it was so encouraging to see the numbers going up. And Jeremy has said, remember when you first started on YouTube?
Oh, yes. In July of 2013, I started the YouTube channel here and started working on videos. And then by May of 2014, we didn't really have anybody on there, anybody engaging with it. And I was very concerned that I was just wasting the church's money working on this. So I spoke to my practitioner about it, and basically she said, well, just keep going a little bit more. And by July of that year, it started picking up and has grown since then. So I'm so grateful for that.
We're up to almost 3,000 subscribers. on YouTube, and somewhere I was reading this week in Miscellany, I think, where Mrs. Eddy's talking about the 3,000 or 3,000 in Boston, or that number. And I thought, well, yay. And we've got more than that, we know. And I know Florence and I both are hearing from people almost every day who are finding this church and finding YouTube and listening to this truth. Right, Florence?
That YouTube, many are finding us because of YouTube. And so it's all here to bless, to, forward God's will for mankind, and nothing can stop it, I feel.
Thank you. And someone, on YouTube had suggested that we put the audio of Science and Health on YouTube, which I guess no one has ever done. So, now, Florence.
I think I wanted a way to be able to stop, and go to different chapters and stuff like that. And that wasn't available. I think he said it wasn't there at all. But what he was concerned about was being able to, you're listening, but you can stop and go back to something. And that wasn't, so he was asking us to do that. And we did. God led us to do.
And it's gone out, and we're getting an echo. So if you get muted, it's why. It's gone out and it's doing tremendous work. And I know people find Florence through that avenue of reading the textbook. So beautifully done. We're very grateful to her for doing that. And for all of you who have recorded, put it out there. We have so many now, right? So many.
We're over 5,000.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
We are just flooding the universe with truth. Flooding the universe with truth.
No, just the chapter on prayer and science and health had 20,000 views.
Wow.
And lots of very grateful
people.
Remarks underneath comments.
Yeah, we have very grateful people. We're grateful for all of you who do comment. And our liberator for September. It's going to be, the theme is our duty as citizens of the world. It's a little bit of a mix of things, but we're covering election. We're covering a lot of different things. But if any of you have any ideas for it, and if a couple of you did, Carrie and Louise, you said, sent articles, wonderful articles. I've read what we have so far, and it's beautiful. So our duty as citizens of the world, because that's what we are, citizens of the world. And this lesson on man brings out where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all in all. Right?
Right.
Yes, all in all. We have no division here. Impossible. And then also, for by one Spirit we are all baptized into one body, whether we be Jews or Gentiles, whether we be bond or free, and have been all made to drink into one Spirit. Yes, indeed. Goes out to everyone, everywhere. And we're so grateful for that outreach. And thank you, all of you who have contributed so much. The forum comments have been so wonderful. We could do a book on forum, things. And Jeremy does pamphlets on it, if anyone's interested in that, because some people don't have computers, a few, or some people just want to have them in pamphlet form. So if any of you want a pamphlet of forum highlights, you can request that.
And someday we'll take all of Florence's forum highlights and make it into a book.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
It could be one big book.
Very wise things.
Maybe bound volumes.
Bound volumes, yes.
Huge book.
That's it. So much work to do. So much of God's good work to do. Okay, we will go to our...
And we can't call it the Blue Book, can we?
Oh, and that's another thing. We will, because people ask us, we will sell the Blue Book here, but we're ordering it. We have to order it from Amazon, and then we have to charge you postage. So it's probably cheaper if you get it from Amazon, but we will have some here. And if you want to order it from us, we'll have it here because it only seems right since we were talking about it all the time. So
It is wonderful.
yeah,
That's good because a lot of people ask about it.
they do. They ask me, they ask Benjamin, they ask. So now we'll have it and we can just send it. I don't think we've determined a price on it yet, but it'll be listed. All right, the watching point.
Watch number 31. Watch lest you feel that man is the master of divine power rather than its servant. False theology declares that Jesus was equipped with deific power that he wielded to perform miracles as he chose. On page 119 of Science and Health, Mrs. Eddy writes that man is but the humble servant of the restful mind. When she went forth on the lecture platform, she prayed, quote, "Now, dear God, here I am. Use me. I am absent from the body and present with thee in consciousness. Love uses me in its own good way. I would lift myself right out of the material sense of self and audience and let God use me." End quote. You must feel that divine power is using you. You must kneel in humility at the throne of God, asking and seeking to be imbued with deific power. Then you can go forth and exercise that power with authority. But you ask, is not this using divine power? Yes, but only as a servant who goes forth to do his master's bidding. Jesus might have been called master, because above all others, he permitted divine power to master him. End of quote.
That is just so beautiful. Wow. And that goes with our golden text. By the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace, which was bestowed upon me, was not in vain. We are what we are by the grace of God. So I know, any comments? I know, Karen, you wrote beautifully about this watch.
Did you want me to? Did
Sure.
you want me to read? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I quoted from our lesson. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering. And above all these things, put on charity, which is the bond of perfection. In thinking about our watch this week and what it says, quote, you must feel the divine power is using you. You must kneel in humility at the throne of God, asking and seeking to be imbued with deific power, unquote. I found these passages helpful in reminding me where my thought has to be of service to him. The Amplified Bible sheds some light on these passages that I found helpful. Quote, so as God's own chosen people who are holy, set apart, sanctified for his purpose, and well beloved by God himself, put on a heart of compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, which has the power to endure whatever injustice or unpleasantness comes with good temper. Beyond all these things, put on and wrap yourselves up in unselfish love, which is the perfect bond of unity, for everything is bound together in agreement with when each one seeks the best for others. And then I talked about the lesson sermon. I was grateful for it.
Well, that is a beautiful quote from Amplified Version. I turned to that this week too. That's a very helpful Bible, I think. It as was just read, there are very many beautiful passages. They just expound on it a little more, what the words mean. So anyway, yes, that is how we are to be of service to him. I looked up the word bowels because sometimes, people call with valve trouble. And I've said the Bible gives us instruction on really all the parts of the body. Think about it. The weak knees, about the heart, the bones, make fat the bones. And so here it is, the bowels. And the definition, the interior part of anything, the seat of pity and kindness, tenderness, courage, compassion, the heart, deep or innermost part. So, if you're having a problem, think about those things, the innermost part. I mean, do you have things deeply buried inside you that need to come to the surface to be ejected, so to speak, cleansed of? Or perhaps maybe you need more of kindness, tenderness, courage, compassion, those qualities to express. Maybe you feel those qualities weren't expressed to you as a child. Well, that doesn't mean you've ever been without them, because God has always been your father, mother, and always expressing those to you. So the interior part of anything, again, and truth goes into the inward parts to heal, regenerate, rejuvenate, bless. So this is a treatment for that difficulty, if it's a difficulty for you. So God speaks to us through these verses.
And what did Paul mean when he said, his grace which was bestowed upon me was not in vain? What point was Paul making?
Felt like an oath promised to God that, he would carry through on what God expected of him.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, this is his commitment to be obedient as best he can. Because we all have a choice, don't we? I mean, the grace of God is bestowed on every one of us. But the choice we have to make is whether we accept that grace and obey his commands and be what God made. That's really the only choice we have to make, isn't it?
Yes. And therefore be used for tremendous work. I mean, Paul's example is just something else.
It sure is. I think that's why Mrs. Eddy had so much respect for Paul and quotes him so often in our textbook.
So in the morning, you can tell yourself, by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace which was bestowed upon me was not in vain. And let God work through you. And in this lesson, in this time together, we're going to learn more deeply how to do that. Because we are the remnant and we are standing for truth. I saw something that Parthens had sent me where I call him the Dr. Foo-Foo. And I don't mean it disrespectfully, really. Well, in some ways I do. But that's just because I don't want to bow down and respect the medical above God himself. So anyway, this was saying that a little video clip of him speaking to the children, telling them all to get vaccinated. Well, this is not what we want to hear our children being instructed in. But this is what we have been up against, and we are going to continue to be up against, and to fight the good fight bravely. But you see, when they have nothing better to replace a medical with, which most people think there isn't, then of course it seems to be the wisest choice. But we here know there is something better, and we have proved that something better. And it doesn't matter if we're just a remnant. One with God is the majority. But this is why our outreach is so important, because when they have something better, they'll say, yes, okay. But until then, the materia medica is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And what did Mrs. Eddy say what we should do when that happens, Florence?
Science and health is the answer, nothing else.
Thank you. Read
To
it.
get it out.
Get it
Get
out.
the textbook out in the hands of as many people as possible.
Like YouTube.
Like YouTube.
Like YouTube.
YouTube.
Wonderful.
And like Jim, who passes it out. and others of you. So, but even if you give just snippets of it and quote it or some little thing to pique people's curiosity about it, and mainly by your example, they'll wonder, well, how can you be so peaceful during such trying times? Well, we know where our peace comes from.
And we know where our health comes from.
Yes, we know where our health comes from. It's not in physical body. It is in mind with a capital M. Florence?
No, and we know who our Redeemer is. That's
Yes.
We've seen those small steps His promise is kept over and over. And so we have reason to believe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have reason to believe.
We have work to do.
And we have work to do. And isn't that a wonderful thing? That we do have this wonderful, marvelous work to do. It keeps us happy. And it's cure in working for God, as I quote Mrs. Edwards. And when you're knowing I am what I am, an important thing to do when you're reading Science and Health, and we've talked about this before, but when it says man and other things, you say I, or you say your name. For instance, in the definition of man and recapitulation, citation 2 in Science and Health, the scriptures inform us that I am made in the image and likeness of God. Matter is not that likeness. The likeness of spirit cannot be so unlike spirit. I am spiritual and perfect, and because I am spiritual and perfect, I must be so understood in Christian Science. I am a compound idea of God, including all right ideas. The conscious identity of being as found in science, in which man is which I am the reflection of God or mind, and therefore I am eternal. I have no separate mind from God. I have not a single quality underived from deity. I possess no life, intelligence, nor creative power of my own, but I reflect spiritually all that belongs to my Maker. You see, when you say that, doesn't it mean a lot more?
It's not distant anymore.
It's not distance. You apply it directly. You can go through your whole textbook. Mrs. Eddy instructed someone to take the textbook and study it for a month, like you would, as the textbook in school. And as I've said, I think it was Zari at one of our early Bible studies when this pandemic had started. She said, well, let us all study our textbook during this time. Take it up, read it, and study it like you've never done before. Apply it to yourself, make it real, and know by God's grace, you are what you are. I think, was it Peter V. Ross? Somebody said Science and Health is your autobiography. So there we are. All right. Any comments or any questions on anything?
Yeah, I think the point of the immense gratitude for the grace of God that Paul displays is such a lesson, has been for me, and I'm sure for many people, because sometimes your thought wants to draw you back to what you've done and therefore, keep you in that bondage of ill thoughts about yourself and good and how can I be better and all that. But that gratitude, if so grateful for what God is doing or has done for you, a little bit of this truth that we are His children, the deep sense of that gratitude I feel is what can make you want to know, I just want to serve Him. I just wanted to make that point because I know how it is. The other voice is saying, "Oh no, what, who are you?" and all that stuff. Yeah. But that gratitude, I think, kind of puts you over that lying tongue.
No, thank you. That's so important, Florence. Thank you for bringing that up, because our gratitude for the grace of God really is our connection with God. If we don't have gratitude for God and what He is and what He does for us, we've severed our connection with Him. I mean, it really is that basic. That's why Mrs. Eddy says in the textbook, gratitude is essential. It's not an option. It's a requirement, because it is our connection.
It is an atmosphere wherever you go. If you have that gratitude.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes.
Yep. You take
one of the things that when I've gotten discouraged or feeling that I'm sometimes not making any headway in things, what keeps coming back to me is that I could have done a couple of years ago. I was led here to Plainfield, and I keep coming. I don't know, every time my thought sort of wants to go up, but God brought me here. Why did I come here except to serve Him? And I can only do that if I get myself out of this, because there's no other reason that I was led to Plainfield except to serve Him. He needs me as He needs all of us. But that has helped me so many times to get out of a place of discouragement or not doing it, is to just, but He led me here. And I'm so grateful, and He needs me, and so get with it.
All right.
Well, that is wonderful. That's just what Florence was talking about. Gratitude is the greatest thing, I think, of all maybe the qualities of God. And it is part of our oneness with Him. If you are one with Him, you are naturally you're brimming over with gratitude. You don't have to try. It's just there. That's beautiful. Thank you, Carmen. It's so true.
It just came to me that nobody can do it for us. We have to do it ourselves.
Absolutely. Nope.
And Miss Eddy also said somewhere that it was ingratitude was the only unpardonable sin, right?
Yes. Yeah. And also,
when He sees a grateful student, He knows that they are safe.
That's right. Yeah. That's what takes a person off. They start getting ungrateful. They get, why isn't this healed and this and that? I know of someone, this person ended up having to have a medical experience. Now, in science, that person could have just been so down, depressed. How did I fail? I did this, I did that. Instead, this person used her science there. She expressed so much joy and love. She was blessing the nurses. She was blessing the doctors. She was blessing everyone. Of course, and you've heard Jim's stories too. He was handing out signs and hells. Just so everyone actually liked to be with this person because they were so joyful and loving and had such confidence in God, even though they seemed to be in a very difficult spot. But they radiated instead of absorbed. And so guess what? In both instances, those persons got out of that medical experience quickly and had a wonderful healing, even though they had to take a brief detour, a use of a temporary mean instead of eternal. But so what? In the scheme of things, they were back on doing their work as usual. So you see, you have a choice. And if you end up in some situation that doesn't seem to be so great, express joy and gratitude despite it.
Make lemonade out of the lemon that you're dealt.
Yes, yes. And I honestly, I can't emphasize that enough, because if you don't and you go, rah, 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 that's exactly what happens. You just bluff and feel guilty. And this is what Florence was talking about. Paul could have done all those things, but he didn't. And he went up blessing the world. This is your rope. It's like the friendly hand that comes down to lift you up and out. But it is why we were taught here, and it's not even it's a command. It's not a suggestion. Joy and gratitude are two essential ingredients to any healing. Period. Okay? Period. Don't wait until you feel like it. You do it. And in doing it, it's all in your consciousness anyway. And doing it just lifts you up like an air balloon. It's wonderful. I've done it. And many of you have too. So
well, I like in the lesson it says to abandon so fast as practical the material. All we can do is what we can demonstrate. So
yes, it's all you can do is the best you can from where you are. I'm looking for a quote about that. It's in Miscellany where Mrs. Eddy says that. I can't even remember the key words, but it's something to that effect. All you can do is the best you can do. And don't try to be or do something that you're not, or if you're just not at that standpoint, you just do the best you can from where you are. And there's no condemnation for that. That's an honest position. Don't pretend to be something you're not. Here I am, Lord. A beautiful song. Here I am, Lord. Yes. But emerge. So wherever you are, if I make my bed in hell, thou art there. So don't ever be discouraged by your so-called position in life. So your true position is one of the sons and daughters of the King. And if you keep applying the truth, that friendly hand will come and lift you up and out of it. But if you despair or you keep going back to the past and injustices and or how guilty you feel now or how whatever, then you're the pendulum swinging back and forth, making some progress, but whoops, there you go back again. I remember one time just deciding, I am so sick of going down this pit. I am so sick of it. I can't stand it. And then I started to make progress because anytime those negative thoughts came, boy, did I jump on them. It was not worth going down and having to crawl up and out. So, all right, Carol, would you read the responsive reading?
From Matthew and Romans. Ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost his savor, wherein shall it be salted? It is henceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out, and to be trodden under foot of men. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose.
Thank you. Florence, do you want to speak to that?
As she's reading, it just comes to me, if you are light, then shine. If you are salt, out.
That's right. Shine. And you see, even in a whatever hell you seem to be in, is anything saying you cannot shine, do not shine today, you'll be a dark spot in the world? Is anyone telling you that? Of course not. Has anybody bound you with chains and forced you to be a miserable mortal? Of course not. Even in hell, you can shine, and you better shine.
Because God is there with me.
That's it. Because God is there with you. And as Karen said, and that was so beautifully said, God, He's brought you to this church with wonderful work to do. And all of this, all that we have on our website, isn't that something to be grateful for?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes it astounds me, the ingratitude when all this stuff is being poured forth, and yet there's still all this stuff to complain about. I mean, just think of what God is doing for you. And it's not personal. This is God working. It's God doing it. So don't listen to that voice. And be that light, be that example wherever you are. As I gave that example, those two people in a medical experience, they were uplifting the nurses and the doctors. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, as that song says. Right, Craig?
Yes.
Never despair. God's with you. In the amplified version of that Romans 8, we are assured and know that God, being a partner in their labor, all things work together and are fitting into a plan for good to and for those who love God and are called according to His design and His purpose. So here we are, and this is I Am What I Am. You're fitting into a design and a purpose. Joanne wrote about it, the concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, and how in our church, yes, we're all here with various things to do, none better than anybody else's. But please perform it, if you've been given it, if you want to, and do it with joy and gratitude. And tremendous blessing in doing that, healing in doing that work. And when the suggestions come that you're sick or you can't do it, I always turn to alertness to duty, which says, what's alertness to duty?
And it shall be the duty
of every member of this church
to defend himself daily against aggressive mental suggestion and not be made to forget or neglect his duty to God, to our leader, or to mankind.
Yay, Lil. You all should know that. Because that is the intent of those suggestions. Once you start seeing that, once you're on this path and you're working for God, that's why it's a daily duty to do this.
And the more useful you are to God, the more aggressive it will seem that the devil will be to try to take you off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If the devil isn't tempting you to take you off,
yeah, you're sound asleep.
Ask yourself, am I really doing anything useful?
And like Karen brought out in hers, we have the power to endure whatever injustice or unpleasantness comes with good temper. Quite like that.
I do too.
Yep, that was good.
I thought that verse from the Bible in the lesson, this is our little guide as to how to weather the storms there. It was beautiful. Yes. So that's what we do. We don't get upset or out of whack, but we just keep going with good grace, good temper.
And that's how it's not in vain.
Yes, it's not in vain. And we will come upon troubled waters at times. It's bound to happen. I mean, this isn't, some people think, well, now you'll have no more problems. That's not it. Gary gives that testimony. That's what he thought. We all thought that.
Well, and it's important to remember that if a problem appears to you, if something comes in your experience that appears to be a problem, God doesn't allow problems to come to you that you're not ready to deal with. You're ready for them when they come to you.
Yeah, say somewhere as a proof of God's care.
Trials.
Trials of God's care.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So think of a problem as an opportunity to get closer to God.
It's like stairs. There's a flat part, and then there's a vertical part, and then there's another flat part. So,
I think we probably forget often Emmanuel, God with us all the time, God with us. I think that's a good way to think, and it helps. If we already know that all the time, then when it comes, you still know you're more grounded, I feel.
Absolutely. And if you're grateful to God for what he has done for you, it'll be easier.
There's a verse in the Bible, I can't remember where it is, where it says you won't be tempted past what you can endure. Sometimes that helps too, to know that you're not going to be given more than you can do.
That's exactly right. Yes.
And the reason for that is with God, all things are possible. There isn't anything that's impossible for God. Therefore, as his image and likeness, nothing is impossible to me if I am with God.
Yeah. We are assured and know that God, being a partner in our labor, he's always with us. And that Emmanuel, God with us, that always gives me almost goosebumps. That's from Matthew, the birth of Jesus. And it's so beautiful. And I do think of it often. He is with us. Nothing can't be surmounted with him. Zero, nothing. It's such a wonderful short verse to know and keep with you. So
I think it also helps that Mrs. Eddy's counsel to us to walk in the world with equanimity, that evenness of mind. I think that it's all helpful to have that quality.
Yep.
Yes. And the Bible is full of how that he gave us dominion and crowned us with glory. He has put all things under our feet. Do we appreciate that enough and go about our day knowing this, putting it into your being, living it and knowing it? So, and then the beautiful section about all the spiritual gifts that he gives us. And in the Amplified Version, now there are distinctive varieties and distributions of endowments, gifts, extraordinary powers distinguishing certain Christians due to the power of divine grace operating in their souls by the Holy Spirit, and they vary, but the Holy Spirit remains the same. So we're all unique in what we have to give. And in the lesson, too, there's a lot about individuality. Now, what's the difference between individuality and personality?
Personality is attaching any individuality to a person. Rather than seeing it as a reflection of God, you're attaching it to the person, and now it's, instead of infinite, it's finite. And it can be good sometimes and good not others, but its personality is, you don't want to attach anything to person. So your identity or individuality is your individual expression of the one mind.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
And I love individuality is infinite. It's infinite individuality. And in every case, personality is always finite and limited in some way, good and the bad, or go together. And individuality is always humble. You're always looking back to God for whatever sources.
Thank you. That's so true. Yes. Yes. It would seem in the human that we're born with certain personalities, and then it's all based on, who your parents were or whatever. characteristics, if you will, and some good, some bad, and they're hard to shake off. You've got them all the time, whether you're hot-headed or all different types. You know what I'm speaking about. And that is the old man that has to be put off, because that's just not true. As Karen said, some good, some bad. And if you want to take the good, then you're also going to have to deal with the bad. So no, you are a daughter or a son of the King. Your inheritance is from him and him alone. This is why we stay with this. It was in the lesson at the very beginning. Spirit is my primitive and ultimate source of being. God is my Father, and the life is the law of my being. That's it. And the definition of individuality: separate and distinct existence. And then this, a state of oneness. Now, my goodness, a state of oneness. Your individuality is the truth about you, and it is a state of oneness that comes only in, as Craig says, in humility. Because if you're proud of your personality and what you've accomplished and all of that, well, you're going to trip up. But when you know, I am what I am by the grace of God, and I can do nothing without the Father that dwelleth in me. When you have that sense of helplessness, total helplessness without God, that's when you begin to make some progress. And that truly is the lesson this week has the Beatitudes. That's what the Beatitudes are largely about. The spirit hungering and thirsting for the things of God and knowing that you are nothing without him. So we are led to our individuality. Drop off that old man with the personality and any kind of traits or any beliefs of inheritance that are not of God. As a Christian Scientist, we stand strong with that. Don't you even go there. This looking back about so-and-so had this problem, the heck with that. No way, Jose. You don't go there. Do not go there. And if you have gone there, cleanse yourself of it and say you will never go there again. This is 390 to 393. You blot out the images. You don't go there. It's not. Your inheritance is from God alone. So it's the inheritance of your parents. It's the inheritance of your children. It is the inheritance of everyone. Then you can say, by the grace of God, I am what I am. And only by that grace. So go ahead, please, Florence.
So I think that's the individuality that God is in. This is the child in whom I am well pleased. It's never the other.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. And rejoice because your name is written in heaven. And this is being the child of God. And it talks about that in the Bible too, when we love even our enemies. Love your enemies, bless them, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. This is your right identification. And because he maketh the sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain to the just and on the unjust. So this is being God's image and likeness. Your human personality will say, well, goodness, I don't want to like anybody who's been mean to me. I'm not going to love them. Your individuality says, yes, I will. I will. I will love all, and I will see them correctly. Right identification for me, right identification for them. And I will accept no enemies. Mrs. Eddy says we form them in our minds anyway, so let's get rid of it. We are going to end, and it's a little bit of a long one, but think about it carefully. It's Mrs. Eddy's article entitled
Character, from the March 1893 Christian Science Journal. She writes, it should be evident to a careful observer that no real character can be achieved where there is a lack of genuine, true humility. Humility is a virtue which but few have any right perception regarding. It is associated with weakness instead of strength, so that it too frequently appears as servility, a sort of despicable quality, such as Dickens has caricatured in his Uriah Heep. But this is not humility. For genuine humility is freedom from all sense of false pride and mad ambition, maintaining at all times a calm, steady equipoise of temper and mind. It is that quality which enables one to know himself and never allows its possessor to be thrown off his guard or balance. Consider how rare a thing this is among the men of the world, educated and disciplined though they may have been by the culture and training of the universities and schools. What is material sense or mortal mind doing to repress these mad fires of ambition which blaze up for a time, only to cast down and destroy? All life's journey through, from the cradle to the sepulchre, the child trained under material influences is taught that success depends upon distancing rivals and looking out for the main chance. He who cannot be hammer must be anvil. He who cannot pound must be pounded upon, says an old Roman maxim. The people of the world are living in accord with this pernicious precept. They are consumed with an inordinate desire to be at the top, whether fitted for it or not, and it is frequently the case that they are not. They believe their happiness is conditioned upon gaining these summits of material power and wealth. What has the boasted culture of the schools done towards repressing these foolish, sinful ambitions? And so, the child, which by our supposed case was placed under material training, and in a home where belief in matter and its laws was equal to, if not greater than, its recognition of spirit and a spiritual realm, which is here and now, is imbibing these false notions and growing to manhood in acquiring these false habits that make it seek its own instead of those things that are in others. Its friends desire the same things for him. But how is it with the other child growing under the spiritual influences and training in a real, sincere Christian Science home? Taught to understand that all of its desires are met and supplied by infinite mind, and that there is nothing but God and his idea, how little inclination is there for it to go astray? Since all of its aspirations are spiritual, and are met completely in God, what desire is there for that which God never created? Whom have I in heaven but thee? And there is none upon earth that I desire besides thee, is the language of its chastened affections. The man or child directed and governed by the standards of material, personal sense is chafing, lest it be slighted and unappreciated, and filled with envy, greed, lust, appetite. What sort of a character can such an one rear? What are these but the hay, stubble, dross, which the fires of purity and truth will burn away? But the mind elevated and purified by divine love will gradually realize that all my needs shall be supplied through Jesus Christ. If you talk of character, know that it alone is acquired in the understanding of spiritual verities, but never amid the illusions and glitter of materiality. Nothing is more grand, more beautiful than character building. Do not these lines of Oliver Wendell Holmes have an almost divine meaning for each one? Quote, "Build thou more stately mansions, O my soul, as the swift seasons roll. Leave thy low vaulted past. Let each new temple, nobler than the last, shut thee from heaven with a dome more vast, till thou at length art free, leaving thine outworn shell by life's unresting sea. End quote.
Beautiful.
Thank you. By the grace of God, I am what I am. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.